easier, lockdown ending, especially in schools and colleges?
Yes, I think gradually things will start. I think we are over the worst in terms of lockdown. I hope we are over the worst in terms of the global impact of the virus. But in certain countries, it's still increasing. India also, it's still increasing, though nothing much compared to what it could have been. But I think the worst is over in terms of the restrictions. And gradually they'll cool off. We even see home delivery of books has started in Chandigarh, which is a good sign for an author. And it shows that things are getting back to normal gradually. In Panchkula, markets are open. Yesterday, my mother-in-law went to the market. So she's brave enough to do that. So I think things are getting back. Yeah.
I think it's 3:30, Vivek, and it's time to start, if you allow me.
Sure.
So good afternoon. Good afternoon, all the teachers. A quick introduction. My name is Atul Khosla, and I'm the Pro Vice Chancellor and founder of Shoolini University, very close to all of you in Kasoli Hills, very close to Solon. As a quick background, I'm a Solon boy. After my 12th, went and did my BTech from IIT Kanpur. I'm an aerospace engineer. Post that, I did an MBA and then worked for more than 20 years in different parts of the world with different global firms. The most known or most notable is a firm called McKinsey and Company, which is one of the leading consulting firms of the world. And I spent around 15 years there. I was a global partner with them. 7 years ago, I decided to become a teacher like all of you, and I now teach at Shoolini. I'm also, apart from my role, I'm also the dean of the business school. And when people ask me, what do I teach? I say I teach strategy and finance, which are the core areas of my specialization. So I'm delighted to welcome Mr. Vivek Atray to us today. Vivek is an ex-IAS officer, a TEDx speaker, but more importantly, a great human being. And I also say, more importantly, visiting faculty and professor at Shoolini, and also a very dear friend and advisor to the university. So Vivek is going to be talking about the topic today, which is human values in the time of AI and technology. It's an amazing topic because all of us are interacting over Zoom or YouTube or other forms of technology today. So how do we ensure that we retain our values? How do we ensure that we retain our relationships? And we'll hear from Vivek, who's been speaking on this topic for a while. And once again, we thank your school for being with us today. And again, on behalf of Shoolini University, I welcome all of you. The format would be around 35 minutes of discussion, presentation by Vivek. I'll probably come in a couple of times with a couple of videos and my inputs. But Vivek is going to be the master of the ceremony today, and we'd love to answer all your questions. So just don't hesitate to ask questions either on the chat board at the bottom or the Q&A section. So with this, once again, welcome. And Vivek, over to you.
Thank you, Professor Atul Khosla. Thank you, Atul. It's a lovely afternoon, and it's great to be once again speaking at Shoolini organized webinar. I am really looking forward to these every day nowadays, and it's very nice to be speaking today to a school in Shimla, which is Sacred Heart Shimla, and the teachers of the school are there in large numbers. I can see in the participants number. So it's very nice to be speaking to you, and thank you, Atul, for the warm welcome again. You speak so well yourself, and thank you for all the warmth and friendship. It's great to be associated with Shoolini University, and I am the advisor and visiting professor, as Atul said. I am looking forward to my next trip to Shoolini from Panchkula, where I live, and where I've been holding webinars from. And we are all looking forward to me being out of our homes gradually. Hopefully, things will get better and better and better. So teachers, welcome to this webinar, and we have a very interesting topic. Thank you for choosing this topic, artificial intelligence and human values and human creativity. So just getting straight to the topic, because it's a favorite of mine and I'm very happy to speak on it. I'd just like to say that all of us are in various ways, we are beset with technology in our lives. It has seeped into our lives. It has permeated our lives. It has become a part of us. And there is no aspect of human endeavor which is untouched by technology. Very few people today are without a smartphone. I would say it's an estimate, a guesstimate of mine. It could be that 90 to 95% of the world's population has a smartphone or is within reach of a smartphone. There would be tribals, there would be people in villages, in some countries who are still to be connected. I am aware that Google is floating satellites to reach areas of the world where internet does not exist. And those satellites will ensure that towers are not needed and internet will reach there too. So technology is very much a part of us. And if you look at the times when some of you may be my age, some may be younger, I wouldn't say, because ladies are there, I wouldn't say anyone is older than me. They're all younger than me. I would say that all of you are from the time when at least you did not have smartphones when you were born, and your parents did not have smartphones. Maybe they had computers. I'm not aware of which year you're born in. And televisions were also just when we were in school, and I was in class 10 in 1982, which is long, long ago. And that time I was 1982. Yeah, 1982. I would be 16 years old. So, in my view, at that time, we had hardly started even television. And if you remember the Asiad of 82, the Asian Games of 82 is when color TV came and live telecast came. And then gradually we saw the World Cup of final of cricket of 83 from England live, where we saw half the match. We did not see India's batting. We could only see West Indies batting. I was such a cricket fan even then. And we saw India winning the World Cup final on TV. And then gradually 84, 85, 86, whatever, some Chitrahar and, the movies started. And then by 91, 92, I remember watching a live series from Australia. Colored television was more prevalent, and we started living the life of a TV couch potato at times. We would watch movies on our video cassettes and VCRs, as you remember, most of you will remember of that era. And we would rent these VCR tapes from the market and watch movies. And for many years, perhaps in the 90s, we did that. And then came the era of digital technology. And digital technology changed everything. Everything became different. I was in IT for a while. I joined the government in 91. And I was young SDM of Kalka in 93. I was in the HCS at that time. Got promoted to the IAS much later in 2010. And then resigned in 2017. So I am now I'm a speaker. I go everywhere and speak on motivation, on leadership, on people skills, emotional intelligence, etc., and artificial intelligence versus human creativity. So what I'm trying to say to you is that the era changed. People started adapting to technology. One example I'll give you from my government days in Chandigarh. I was director of PR and tourism and IT. I remember we used to send press releases by carbon copies in 2000. And the typist would take out about 6 copies of each press note, and it would be sent by hand in an auto rickshaw, which we had in the department, to the Tribune, the Indian Express, etc., Hindi papers. In 2003 or something, we started using, or 2002, 3, we started using email. And email started coming more into its own. We started emailing press notes. We had website pictures uploaded. And gradually, human beings started adapting to the internet era. You remember the dot-com bust of about 2003 when e-commerce came, but people were not ready for it. Bandwidth was low. So technology was only seeping in gradually. Today, we don't think twice before paying a bill on our phone or buying a movie ticket on our phone. Most people use that. When lockdown is not there, they go and see movies, and they buy tickets or buy movie tickets online. They order food online, they pay their fees online, they pay their electricity bills online. So gradually, technology has become so much a part of our lives that we are ourselves becoming semi-automated. And that is the theme of today's lecture. And we know that children who are growing up now and are about 10 years old or 5 years old or 15 years old, they are actually living with technology, and they don't think that life is possible without technology. Now, before the lockdown, we didn't think that life was possible without going out, without ordering food, without going for a walk, without doing other things which we are used to doing. But this lockdown has forced us to adapt. We are all indoors. It is technology which has enabled us to remain in touch with the rest of the world. The mobile phone, the internet, the television tells us what is happening. Often it tells us grim news. So I often tell people avoid news and only watch it or see it once or twice a day. And that too, just to refresh your positive memory, and any good things happening, make a note of them. But anyway, that's another topic. Today we're talking about the fact that how are we becoming automatons, or are we still human beings in that sense to a large extent? So youngsters especially, and you are teachers, you are dealing with students, you need to probably tell students and children, your children especially, that life has to be balanced. And if children are today able to spend time outdoors, playing a sport, doing things which they should be doing as children, apart from only the smartphone, having fun on a tree or a hillock, or just going for a picnic, or playing with some butterflies or things like that, then life becomes more wholesome and fulfilling for young children as they grow up with nature. Nature is still the greatest of learning opportunities are provided by nature. I had a senior officer who was a chief secretary used to say, you should tell our educationists to, I was director of education for quite a while. You should tell our educationists to take students out to the garden and show them leaves instead of describing the leaf on the board. Now, of course, a botany teacher would have to describe a leaf on the board as well, in the blackboard or whiteboard. But to show children what is happening outdoors is something very much required. And to wean them away from technology, because they're already wedded to technology, to an extent, is what is required. And to wean ourselves away. So how can we balance our lives in this? We can probably balance our lives by not going hyper with technology, by remaining the masters of technology and not becoming the servant of technology. Because technology is going to always pull us more and more into it. It's going to suck us in. It's like quicksand. Once you're in, you're diving deep and you can't even save yourself. You can't save yourself from drowning in technology. So if you become wedded to technology and your whole day is spent on social media and work-related emails, and corporates especially know their lives are PowerPoint presentations. Atul will tell you about his days at McKinsey, and PPTs and emails and WhatsApps and text messages related to work, designing something, shooting off figures, browsing something, reading something on the internet. So how do we wean ourselves away? Firstly, work-related activities will obviously have to be done as per the norm in the office or the school. If the school requires us to do certain things online, they obviously have to be done by the teachers. But blended learning, blended ways of working mean that we should also spend time in doing what we should do apart from technology. So what are those things? One of the things is conversation. Conversations are often interrupted by fubbing. And even I looked at my phone just now just to see what the time is. Somehow my computer is not showing the time. So in a few minutes, we'll go to the video. But before that, I'm going to tell you that fubbing, that means looking at your phone while a conversation is on, is normal. And this is wrong. Conversations used to take place for hours earlier. And they used to take place in physical proximity, not on the chat. And we used to talk to each other. And we used to listen to each other and understand each other. And it is not only the era that has changed, but also the people's tendencies that have changed. It is possible to do so even today. It is possible to go to somebody's house for a cup of tea, but we don't do it that much calling on. We don't spend that much time with our friends as we can physically sitting opposite each other on a coffee or something like that. So these things are required. More of phone time and screen time is creating debilitating problems in students' minds. They are mentally stressed. People are mentally stressed. And that is because we are overusing technology, or as one of my friends has in his WhatsApp status. Many people have as a WhatsApp status, the normal one, I am using WhatsApp, and he says WhatsApp is using me. So that exactly is true for many of us. And so artificial intelligence, which includes WhatsApp, which includes Facebook, but is not restricted to that, artificial intelligence is going to sweep our lives. It's going to sweep the world. It's going to pervade everything that we do. We have to restrict it to where it is required and remain masters of that technology. And I'll talk about some more artificial intelligence ventures that have come up in the world today and how we need to balance our lives in the face of this technological revolution and to retain our creative instinct. So over to Atul for a video, which will be about Aman, a student from Shoolini University, and a wonderful experiment that has been carried out by her and research work. Atul.
So thank you, Vivek. I think before I get into that, I would like to thank all of you teachers, because I think one thing which has probably got missed out in our media is the effort that you teachers have done in ensuring that not a single day of learning is lost. If you really think about it, each one of you is working harder. You're not just taking care of classes, but you're taking care of your homes. And all of you have done an amazing job. I would say all of us have done an amazing job in stepping up. And we've leveraged technology to do that. Of course, it's not the same in terms of interacting in a classroom. But myself, I do around 5 to 6 lectures a day. I can tell you that student engagement is there. We're also running our classes and our assessments online. We just are doing our midterms right now, Vivek, and it's absolutely amazing what's happening. I think what's really happening with AI also is the ability to enhance creativity and the ability to collaborate in a sizably enhanced way. And in the context of this, I'd like to bring an example of Aman. Just to give you the context, Aman did her undergrad and master's and then PhD with Shoolini. Aman was a rather not so good student for undergrad and master's, and something happened during PhD. She actually became a stellar student. She's worked on water, which is the most critical subjects. If you think about it today, we can't live without water. And she's done some path-breaking work, which I'm going to show in a second. And how did this happen? It happened because one of her collaborators was outside the country, and she was in regular touch with them through technology, through online, and that's what online can do. She also had great mentorship from her teachers, and she was able to leverage a lot of knowledge which otherwise would not have existed with her. She was able to search the web in different ways and actually learn through technology and come up with something path-breaking. So let me play this video and you'll get a sense of the extent of work that she's done, and I'll come back to Aman after this 2-minute video. Give me 1 second. I think I made a mistake. Vivek, I'll need half a second. If you guys don't mind, I am sorry about this. Okay. I've done this so many times, but I think I still get bad at technology. I did not switch the camera. Here it goes. So this was the story of Aman. So Aman has been able to leverage technology to come up with something absolutely pathbreaking. And let me explain what it is, Vivek. Moringa is nothing but drumsticks. These are the drumsticks that we everyday use in sambar and other South Indian dishes. Started looking at the antibiotic properties of moringa or drumsticks. Somewhere along the journey, they figured out that drumsticks or moringa seeds also kill bacterial property in water. And leveraging open research that's available across the world and a few collaborators across the world, they came up with this absolutely path-breaking discovery. If successful, it could change the way the world drinks water. Aman has now been awarded as a young water fellow. It's an extremely prestigious award where more than 100,000 researchers across the world apply. Aman spent 3 months in the UN headquarters in Geneva as part of this award, and post that won a 25 lakh award by Tata Trust and Lockheed Corporation to further pursue research in this. It's now being taken up by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And if this really works out, who knows, she might even get the Nobel Prize. Point is, creativity, technology, and working together and collaboration can really, really change lives of people and really change the way learning happens. Over to you, Vivek.
Thank you, Atul. This is a fantastic showcase of what is possible with technology. And viewers, teachers who are listening, I hope you understand very well the fact that I am a technologist myself and I'm an engineer myself. The topic today is not to blast technology as something which is spoiling or destroying the world, but to say that we need to balance our normal lives with the advent and progress of technology. How technology is making inroads which will only increase, and how technology will definitely make our lives easier and better. As you will know, Harari writes in his book Homo Deus for the future and 21 ideas for the 21st century. So he says how lives are going to improve vastly with progress, and how we are going up the Maslow's hierarchy, as you must have heard, those who have studied social science. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, basic needs and higher needs, and going on to self-actualization. So while mankind is progressing in terms of technology, in terms of doing what it needs to do, in terms of making quality of life better, despite not being able to combat a virus of the kind that is sweeping the world, gradually we will get over it. But what is important is to retain the human element, the experience of meeting a shopkeeper and talking to him. Maybe he's an old acquaintance, having a chat with him. A banker who receives a visit from a retired client who wants to visit the bank, even though he or she knows that she can do all the transactions online and the grandchild or somebody can help. But that lady or gentleman has only one thing to look forward to every week or every month, which is a visit to the bank. So this person wants to visit the bank, have a cup of tea over there. So the ability to retain these human experiences, and then the kind of laughter that you feel in unison with someone you don't even know when you're watching a cricket match together or a movie together, and there are people next door or seated next to you who are laughing just with you as if you are part of that whole feeling. So there are so many things that can be done with technology which do not require that human experience, like watching movies, like having classes, like doing so many conversations online. Even online conversations require listening skills and empathy for the person who is speaking, and the ability to keep switched on instead of allowing our minds to be distracted. Of course, you must be finding it difficult to retain the attention of the children whom you're teaching online. And I'm betting that many of the questions which come at the end might be to do with that. But you have to balance. We have to balance our lives by using technology to its advantage, to our advantage, and to use technology as much or as little as is necessary, and not to go overboard. So we should be able to notice somebody on a bus who's sitting next to us or nearby on a train who is not feeling well and is coughing too much. Nowadays, of course, coughing is almost like being an outlaw. But someone who's not looking well and you are on your phone, you are not bothered because you're just in your earphones and your movie and whatever it is on the travel, noticing other people, talking to other people, a vital concept. And let's come to education itself. Let's come to teaching. As you are in the classroom, when you are being looked up at by children and you're standing there, that experience is probably unparalleled. And you speaking to them, they laughing at something you said or something which makes them go, wow. You know, that wow factor, your personality comes into play in the classroom. And that feeling cannot be matched and replicated by technology. However, since technology is so vital to our era, and we will be using this a lot, despite, the need to go back to school, it is going to be, let's say, balance of both. So whenever we have that proximity with others, we are in contact with them one to one, we are able to speak to them one to one, we should make use of that opportunity to make the other person realize our human values and qualities and cheerfulness and the way we are with them. The goodness of heart hasn't changed despite artificial intelligence coming. Some people are good and some people are not so good by the way they are. So the human qualities, the leadership qualities also matter. So leaders are teachers, are leaders, administrators of schools, educationists, even sports teachers. They are leaders. Their students are looking up to them, and they need to balance their leadership skills. They need to have emotional intelligence. Even today, most of the time, our dealings are going to be with people, whether they are on the phone, whether they are one-to-one, or whether they are on a chat. The emotional intelligence to say the right thing, to do the right thing, to do the right thing at the right time, and to be able to speak in a manner that is required in a particular environment, situation. And in front of whom can we shout, or should we shout at all ever? In front of whom can we be stern and firm? And in front of whom should we be more encouraging and more balanced and soft? So it is important to be strict also at times to maintain discipline. But the key word again is balance. How we don't go overboard. And many people are stressed out and they lose their cool and their anger comes into play because they just can't control their emotions. So are we able to control our emotions? Are we having enough resources at our disposal that help us to say what is to be said at the right time? So these human qualities and human assets, as I would like to call them, are required. And if we have calmness in the mind, our mind is working like a human mind, not like a mechanical mind or a brain which is just calculative, then we are able to do that. And the right side of our brain is set to harbor the creative spirit. So when we are creative, that means we are using the right side of our brain. And when we are creative, we are into music, art, and literature, and writing, and poetry, and books. Then our lives become more fulfilling. And as teachers, you know that. You are able to understand that and appreciate that perhaps more than an investment banker or someone who's looking only for business. They too, many of them are great human beings with balanced lives. And I know that some professions demand that they do number crunching, they are into profit and loss, they are into this kind of activity, but they have to balance their lives with activities which are more creative in other senses. And teachers can be creative all the time in school. They have to be, when they are in school, they can have different ideas for the lessons. They can do different things. I'm going to close with a slightly funny incident, and it is something which is to do with education. And then we're going to have a video by Atul. He's going to show you a video, and then we're going to take questions from you. So please ask your questions on the Q&A box or the chat box in writing. So what I'd like to share with you today is that I write columns. I write one for the Hindustan Times called Random Forays. A few years ago, I used to write middles in the Times of India and the Tribune. And Times of India carried a middle of mine called the Yawning Divide. And the yawning divide was basically a middle about my sister and her husband in Patiala, who wake up at 4 a.m. every day. And they start their day so early, and he goes to his eye hospital at 7 a.m. So they have to do all their conversation and walk and work and whatever for the morning early. And my sister prepares for the day very early. The milkman also arrives at the house by 5 o'clock or something in the morning. And the newspaper man also starts from their house. So it was a humorous piece comparing their lives with somebody in Delhi who are also related to me. I won't tell you who they are. So they start the day at 12 noon. And the husband works late because he's a TV person, comes home late, they sleep late, wake up late, and start late. He goes for a walk at 1 p.m. every day. In Shimla, you can do that, but in Delhi, where they live, you can't. But he does it. And how that yawning divide between the two, literally yawning divide, is so humorous. So this write-up of mine actually appeared in a Maharashtra school board 10th class or 12th, 11th class textbook. I didn't know until a principal of that area sent me a message. And I got to know that my write-up is there, and they thank Times of India for whatever. And my name is also there. That became the subject of questions and answers. So the question and answers in the chapter are: what time does the author's sister wake up? What time does the milkman arrive? I found it so hilarious how my write-up reached there. And why I'm telling you this is because now technology came in and YouTube started hosting videos of Maharashtra teachers teaching my chapter to students on YouTube. And when I saw those videos, why I saw them was I was searching something on my own videos, and I saw Vivek Atray Yawning Divide. What is this? And it's a video by a Maharashtra-based teacher. I'm sorry to say the teaching was pathetic. I could not understand the chapter myself. So I decided to make a video and shoot it and upload it on YouTube, that this is what I mean by the yawning divide. So I thought I'll share that and teachers would identify with it. Over to you, Atul, for your inputs and a video, and then we can have Q&A.
I think that's a very important point and very interesting anecdote, Vivek. My very, I would say, very humble suggestion around online is going to be three, fourfold. But before I do that, let me just explain to you what we're doing at Shoolini. We started the whole AI/online journey around 5 years ago. Everything that we do at Shoolini is on a very deep AI technology platform. So what's really happened is that we've learned how to engage with our students online and how to make things richer and crisper. So just a few tips for all of you, because I'm sure you are speaking to your students online. Three, four things very simply, which I think all of you should do. First is have a dedicated desk where your computer is, where there's high-speed Wi-Fi. Make sure you're dressed properly. Everyone is watching you. Remember, you're now actors, not just only teachers. You're also actors, and you're being recorded. And you're being watched not only by your students, but who knows, you might be watched by the parents. You're being watched by the neighbors. And your videos might be out there on YouTube, like what Vivek was referring to. Thirdly, make sure you've got a good backdrop, something that resonates professionalism the way you would in a classroom. And finally, engage with your students, ask questions. It's a great way to engage students in an anonymous way, because they can write chats, they can put in Q&As, etc., which can make things very, very powerful. The young people of a nation are actually the jewels of the nation, Vivek, as we all know. The reason why all of us are in education is to chisel these rough diamonds and make them great. Over centuries, it's the young people who've made the changes happen. And this is my passion. This is the passion of Shoolini, where we're trying to change the young people of Himachal and others and to make them world beaters. I'd like to show a small video, but I'll also like to bring in some experiments we did and also some successes we've had, Vivek. So the first experiment we did was pick up students who probably were not the 90% students like Aman, and stretch them to do extraordinary things. So as we speak today, we are India's #1 patent filer. We beat by miles the IITs and the institutions that we think are great. We are India's #1 research university. Again, on academic research, we've done an amazing job. Again, it's the students, these students who are able to do it, leveraging technology, leveraging collaboration with each other. With this, I'll play a small video and then we'll go into Q&A.
Throughout history, the young have always been the ones to shape the future. And they continue to do so today. You are the country's biggest asset, our best bet to conquer the future. So what are you waiting for? Your time to dream is now. Dream of the research that can change the world. Dream of a high-flying corporate career. Dream of higher studies in the world's best universities. Dream of developing cutting-edge technology of the future. Dream of your own global startup. At Shoolini University, we empower you and enable you to chase your dreams and change the world. Shoolini University. Think learning, think success.
Thank you. So Vivek, before we get into questions, I just wanted to bring up one point and it reminded me of your association with cricket. And the analogy I'm going to make over here is the Indian cricket team. There was a time when the Indian cricket team was dominated by players from Delhi and Mumbai. I think this was the 70s. And then something changed. I think it changed with Kapil Dev, I guess. And today, when you look at the Indian cricket team, it's actually young kids from smaller towns, from villages who are really out there making India very proud. And I think that's exactly the revolution which is happening in the world of learning today. With technology coming in, we are democratizing learning. So success, in my opinion, will no longer be the privilege of students who go to privileged schools and privileged and large towns and cities. Learning will now be accessible to everyone, thanks to technology, thanks to AI, thanks to machine learning. And once that happens, the world is going to change. And I'm so proud that I live in Himachal and we are seeing so many Himachal students making us proud every day. I think with that, I'll just hand it over to you again, Vivek. We've got a few Q&As which are coming in and we can start answering those. Vivek, you might be muted, I guess.
Yeah, good analogy, Atul. Absolutely correct to say that the Indian cricket team is a great pointer to the fact that now players from rural India and small towns have started coming in. And you absolutely correctly said Kapil Dev and others, and then MS Dhoni, and then people from UP and wherever. So the point is that students as well are outstanding in all of India, and they have brains, they have talent, and we can hone their talents and guide them properly. The question we have received is from Vineet Narwal, and the question is that humans are excellent at creating a mess Do you think that's what we are doing with technology, by missing the dil ka touch with our students and people who really matter to us, by behaving in a mechanical manner like never before? Kindly explain how we can maintain the equilibrium between technology and humanistic ecosystem around us. So, Vineet, you have potential as a writer. You should just practice writing more and you'll be very good. I think your point is well taken, and that is the point I've been making and Atul has been making in this seminar, webinar, that we are basically, it is almost compulsory to maintain that balance. And especially the youngest generation, which is now emerging out of toddlers ages and going into school and is going to be in primary school for the next 5 years, they are the ones who are to really be taught that it is very important to be human and humane, and then to be automated and technology friendly, because that technology will come to them naturally. These human experiences will not come naturally to them. They will not understand why it is important to meet relatives. Even we didn't understand when we were growing up at times. But basically, they have to understand that human beings are paramount and important. And the answer to your question, Vineet, is actually that it is a personal decision also. It is not that the whole world is doing something, so we have to also do it. Your own life can be an example that you spend your time in yoga and reading and meditation and cheerfulness and sports, and you switch off your phone for as many hours as possible, and then people around you will pick it up, because ultimately that inner peace will come from there. And balance. Technology is great, technology is super, but we need to retain the human experience. Atul, I must ask you to share your thoughts, because I don't think we have any other question as yet.
No, I have a couple of questions, of course, but
Sure.
I'd like to state over here, Vineet, that whether we like it or not, technology has hit us. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's happening. So we have to embrace technology, but simultaneously, so agree with you that values have to be retained. I think a few things. Physical fitness cannot happen in front of a computer. So Vivek and I have been sportsmen. I think we need to encourage sportsman spirit and also sportsman behavior in our students. They need to be out there playing at least for a few hours every day. So things which we always took for granted, I think schools and colleges will have to make them mandatory, Vivek. I'll give a small example. We were doing a small meeting yesterday and we have decided to make yoga mandatory for all our students and faculty. Now, this might sound stupid. Some people might say make it voluntary, but voluntary is not happening anymore. So I think the way as schools and universities, we'll also have to adapt our pedagogy and what we do in a very different way. I've also started classes under trees as an example, Vivek. So we've got a big forest next to us. So we're starting to take students there, and 20% of our classes are actually happening in an open classroom and not inside a closed classroom. So these are things which I think we all have to experiment with to make sure that the balance happens. But the question in my mind is actually, I think, relevant for all our teacher friends here. You know, many of them are ladies, many of them are mothers, wives, daughters-in-law, and the burden of them has dramatically gone up. You know, they're doing online lectures thanks to technology. They have to take care of their homes, the children. They also have to do the homework of the children, I'm told. I think that's a big pressure nowadays. Take care of the elders. A lot of stress. What do they do? I mean, how do they manage that stress?
Very good.
And I know you talk a lot about this.
Yeah, we need to. You're absolutely right in raising it, because each group of participants is different. And these teachers who are listening in, the participants who are listening in, obviously they're feeling the stress of technology suddenly having come to their homes. And we know that parents are attending online classes with their children. And that adds to the pressure on the teachers, because earlier only children were listening to them, and now the parents are also listening in. And maybe the grandparents are also listening in. And the grandparent would obviously know maths a little more than anyone else, because they were so sharp on these things. So it's tough. But what you need to do is to see the positives of the situation. Firstly, your commuting time is saved. You're not going anywhere. So that hustle and bustle of catching a bus or a coach or whatever it was, a car, that is saved, and that might have been pleasant also, but it is a change. It is saving that time. And you have to see that this is a time when you can do certain things which you won't be able to do when we go back to being what we were, or even if the new normal is different. You have to basically find time for yourself and read those two books which you could not read forever, or which you thought of reading, and learn that guitar or that song or that artwork which you wanted to complete. So do those things for yourself. If you find alone time and time for yourself, you will find yourself looking forward to that moment in the day when that 45 minutes you are doing what you love to do. I know it's tough to find that time, but you have to somehow improve your prioritization of your activities in the day, see which can be struck off. Maybe that long phone call with your sister or friend, which is very refreshing, but maybe it can cut down from 45 minutes to 15 minutes. It's not a point that I'm making, but it's basically where can we cut down our wastage of time, possibly, and use it to self-develop, to kind of help ourselves. And then we will look forward to that and be able to manage our other, Atul said, so many burdens much better. Yes.
So you've been meditating a lot, Vivek. It makes you calmer. You want
Yes,
to give us some tips on meditation?
absolutely, Atul. Very nice of you to ask this. And this is the book that I follow. Atul also follows the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. And this is not a religious book, it's a spiritual book. It is the autobiography of a yogi by Paramhansa Yogananda. And it is basically a book on how to live and how to balance your lives with meditation. I meditate morning and evening, and Atul does too. Many people do these days. And meditation, whichever religion you follow, is something that will help you. You read your religious scriptures, follow your religious practices, and also meditate. And if you do that for 10 to 15, 20 minutes, I think your personal growth in this life will be superior, and you will find more meaning to your life. I have found that difficulties do not seem so difficult when you meditate, and many answers come to you through intuition, because your meditation has led you to a point where your intuition develops a little more. And we are all works in progress, but we are probably getting better if we are meditating regularly.
Last question, Vivek, before we call it a day. I think we're running short of time now. Your prediction, three big changes that will happen in our lives due to technology. Three predictions that you have on
Okay,
technology.
so one prediction is definitely that the way we work is going to change drastically, and it has already started changing. I feel that a lot of people will work from home, and not, if not the whole week, there will be people, instead of 5 days a week or 6 days, they'll be going to office only 3 days a week. That kind of blended office will be there, where people, 50% of the people will turn up on one day and 50% on another, a different 50%. So that workplace change. Then in our lives, a lot of more video calling, a lot more of not meeting people will unfortunately happen. And maybe it is fortunate in a way, because we may not have talked to that person otherwise, now we will. Another, that is a personal change. The third thing I think is that we are going to go back to normal in many ways. We are going to be watching movies and things like that. Don't be scared of not doing that. But people will be more conscious of their health and their immunity. And if you improve your immunity in the long run, then virus or no virus, it's not going to impact you. And yoga is one of the things that you can do to do that. So I think these are two or three things that I would share. Maybe Atul, you have other ideas to add?
The world is going to change. You're right, Vivek. We're looking forward to changes happening as far as teaching is concerned, learning is concerned, big changes happening online coming up. I think online is going to stay, and the world of teaching is going to change. Many of us might end up becoming facilitators rather than teachers, because a lot of teaching will happen through online, which is recorded lectures. Let's see how it happens. Personally, I'm very excited. I do hope we can all meet our friends again, and I do hope the coronavirus goes away very soon. But thank you all very much. Thank you for very patient hearing. We loved speaking to you. We so wish we could be there in person, but I think as the situation opens up, hopefully we can visit you one day. And of course, we'd love to invite you over to Shoolini and make you spend some time at our beautiful campus with your students. Thank you. Stay safe. And once again, thank you, Vivek, for a wonderful sermon. Truly appreciate and have a great day, everyone.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
Atul.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.